I struggle to keep indoor plants alive. Today I'm going to be using these beautiful acrylic yarns for making the planter, the green one for to make the plants, the yellow yarn for the pineapple, and the brown yarn to make the soil, which is going to be the circle inside the planter. Okay, you can take any kind of yarn that you want. It can be bigger, smaller, acrylic or cotton. It really does not matter, though I usually prefer acrylic yarn for making decor items because the colors are usually very bright and the projects always end up looking very pretty. We're going to start our project by making a magic ring. To make a magic ring, we're going to hold the end of the yarn in our left hand and then wrap the working yarn around our fingers twice, and it makes an X. Now we're going to take our, I'm using my 4 mm hook, which is perfect for the acrylic yarn that I'm using. I'm going to insert under the first loop, and we're going to hold on to our second loop, pull it up, then we're going to chain one. We make this chain one so that we are locking the stitch here. Okay, you can just remove the tail out. We're going to be making a very small circle, but if you want to make a bigger circle, I'm going to post the instructions to make bigger circle in the description, so you can just make it however big you want. Okay, let's chain one and make 6 single crochets into the ring. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Sorry, and 6. 6 single crochets, and now we're going to tighten our ring. Pull the end of the yarn to make it tight, and now we're going to slip stitch into our first stitch. Chain one. We'll be starting our second row. In the second row, we're going to be making 2 single crochets in each stitch. So what we're doing is we're increasing all around. I'm going to be making the stitches along the end of the yarn too, so that I don't have to weave in the end at the end. Okay, chain 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This is the slip stitch that we made in the previous round, and this is the chain one that we made for this current round. So we're not going to be making any stitches in these 2 rounds. We're just going to stop our single crochet here, and we're going to slip stitch to the first single crochet of this row. There you go. Okay, we're going to chain one. In the third row, we're going to be making 1 single crochet in the first row, in the first stitch, and 2 single crochets in the next. So we're going to be making a set of 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and so on. In the second row, we got 12 stitches. In the third row, we're going to be getting 18 stitches. So let's begin. In the first stitch, we're going to be making only one single crochet. In the second stitch, we're going to be making two single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or you can count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. There we go. We finished our third row. We're going to leave the slip stitch of the second row and the chain one we made for this row, and we're going to insert our hook into the first single crochet that we made in this row, and we're going to slip stitch. I'm going to stop crocheting in round here because I'm trying to make a very small planter. But if you want to make a bigger circle, you can just keep continuing the okay. Now we're going to be starting our popcorn stitches. Here what we're going to do is we're going to make one popcorn stitch and one single crochet, and we're going to just repeat it all around. We ended up with 18 stitches in the third row, which is an even number, so it is going to be making it's going to be very easy for us to make sure that we get one single crochet and one popcorn stitch all around, ending with, if you're going to start with a popcorn stitch, you're going to end with a single crochet, and if you're going to start with a single crochet, you're going to be ending with a popcorn stitch. Okay, for the fourth row, we're going to be working only in the back loops of the single crochets that we made. We're not going to be making it normally because we're trying to build the body of the pot right now. So this is going to be our bottom, and if we work only in the back loops, it's going to be easy to make the body. Let's start our row 4. Here we're going to be working only in the back loop. So chain 2, and we're going to be making our first popcorn stitch. For that, we're going to put our hook only in the back loop, and we're going to be making 5 double crochets, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We have our first double crochet. Let's make 4 more. 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're going to remove our hook. Just pull the loop up so that it does not come out. Now what we're going to do is we're going to find the first double crochet that we made, and we're going to put our hook into that, and we're going to sort of fold this work and then grab on to the loop that we left, tighten the loop to make it smaller, and we're going to pull it through our first double crochet. Let's see it one more time. We're going to insert our hook into the first double crochet that we made, and we're going to grab on to the loop from here, and we're going to pull it through the first stitch that we made, the first double crochet. So it is kind of just like the slip stitch but in a roundabout way. We're going to chain 1 to lock our stitch here, and then we're going to go to the next stitch and make a single crochet here. Remember, we're working only in the back loops, so we're going to insert it in the back loop, and make a normal single crochet. You can see the height difference is quite big with it will create a zigzaggy pattern at the top because the popcorn stitch is obviously taller and the single crochet is smaller than that. But you can make a half double crochet or a double crochet, though I would recommend making the single crochet because it really makes the popcorn stitch from the next row sit right in between the popcorn stitches of our current row. So let's move on and make the second popcorn stitch. We're going to be working only in the back loop. Let's make 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, one more. 5. Now we're going to pull the loop up a little higher so that it does not unravel like so. Okay, remove our hook, find the first double crochet that we made. You can see that this is the single crochet of the previous stitch and this is the double crochet. So make the put the crochet hook into the first double crochet that you make and then grab on to the loop and pull it through the first double crochet. Chain 1 and we're going to make a single crochet in the next stitch. And that is all. You have to just repeat this pattern throughout till you reach your last stitch. Remember, this stitch is not going to be your last stitch because this is the slip stitch that you made here. So technically this will be your last stitch. Since we started with a popcorn stitch, we'll be ending with a single crochet. If you are in doubt, just count the number of popcorn stitches that you get at the end of this row, which will be equal to 9 popcorn stitches because we have 18 stitches here and half of them are going to be popcorn and half are going to be single crochets. So since we are having 18 stitches in the previous row, we are going to be having 9 popcorn stitches here. If you made a bigger circle, you can just count the number of stitches of the last circle that you made before moving on to the popcorn row and then half that number, and that is how many popcorn stitches that you will be having in the next row. I'm going to complete this row and we'll meet back to make our next popcorn row. When you look at this, you can kind of see 2 loops. So if you're confused about which loop you have to make your popcorn stitch, so if you're confused about which loop to make your single crochet, you're not going to be making it here. You're going to be making it in the chain 1, the stitch. So this is going to be your single crochet and here you'll be making your popcorn stitch. We're not going to be making anything here. This is the slip stitch that we made. So we're going to be making the next single crochet in this stitch. It does seem like we are skipping some stitches, but we are actually not. I'm going to be making the last popcorn stitch of this row. Can you see how I'm left with exactly 2 stitches, one for the popcorn stitch and one for the single crochet. This stitch, which seems like an extra stitch, is actually the slip stitch that we made in the previous row. So we're not going to make any stitches in this row, in this particular stitch or in the chain 2 of the popcorn stitch. Okay, let's finish this row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. make it bigger. 1 2 3 4 5. Pull through, make a chain to lock the stitch, and in the next stitch we're going to make a simple single crochet. Now what we're going to do is we're going to find the chain 1 stitch that we made in the first single crochet in the first popcorn stitch. You can just flip your popcorn stitch over, and can you see the chain 1 stitch that we made here? We're going to be slip stitching into that. Okay, now chain 1, and we're going to make a single crochet into the popcorn stitch. Okay, in this row we're going to be making a single crochet in the popcorn stitch, and we're going to be making a popcorn stitch in the single crochet. So we are starting with a single crochet here, which means we will be ending with a popcorn stitch in this row. So we've finished our single crochet. Let's go to the popcorn stitch. Can you see? This is a single crochet's body and this is the head. So we're going to be making our popcorn stitch in this stitch. Let's start. 1 2 3 4 5. Pull the loop up. 1 2 3 4 5. Insert the hook into the first double crochet, and all we're going to do is pull it close, chain 1 to lock the stitch, and our first popcorn stitch of our second row is done. We're not going to be making the single crochet at the top here. This is not our stitch. We're going to be making it here, the chain 1 stitch that we made. So this is going to be our popcorn stitch. We're always going to take this as our popcorn stitches loop. Single crochet in that. Very simple. Let's make the next popcorn stitch here. One, two, three, 4, 5. Pull it up bigger. 1 2 3 4 5. Insert the hook here. Pull it through. Let's meet back when we are finishing this row. I'm at the end of this row. I just have one more popcorn stitch left. So let's make it. This is the single crochet of the previous row, and we're going to make the popcorn stitch into that. 1 2 3 4 5, and 1 2 3 4 5. Just slip stitch and chain 1. So this chain 1 that we are making, can you see? Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to look for the first single crochet that we made. This is the slip stitch joining our previous row. This is the chain 1 that we made, and this right here is the first single crochet that we made. So we're going to go into that stitch and we're going to make a slip stitch there. Tighten it so that it's nice and tight. Okay, this is our second row of popcorn stitches done, and you can see I have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. I'm going to continue the same pattern since we finished with a popcorn stitch here, and the first stitch of the next row is actually a single crochet. We're going to start the next row with a popcorn stitch, and then comes the single crochet, which is going to continue the same pattern for however many rows that we want. I think I'm just going to make 2 more or maybe 3 more rows because I'm trying to make a very small planter, and then we'll meet back. There you go. I finished this. I made a total of 6 rows. If you are doubtful about how to count it, just go in a diagonal way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And just make sure that you get 6 all around. So I made 6 rows. You can obviously make it bigger or smaller. It is completely up to you. But once you finish the number of rows that you want, don't fasten it off. Just pull up a loop after the slip knot and we are just going to keep it aside. This is because we are going to use our brown yarn and we will be making a cover for it, and then we will stitch that cover on top of this together with this yarn. So this, we are just trying to skip one step of fastening it off and then again joining the yarn and then stitching it around. So let's do that. Let's keep it away and let's get our brown yarn and let us make another circle. So let's start off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make the same number of rows that I did for my bottom circle so that it will fit perfectly here. Even though it looks like a bigger ring, I think I'm just going to make the smaller one and then stuff it and then bring this a little bit closer. Of course, in yours you can make an extra row so that it will fit this round perfectly. It is completely customizable and completely up to you. Okay, let us start. Where is the... There you go. Okay, to start off, we're just going to make a magic ring. We're basically going to follow the same steps that we did while we made the first circle. Then my magic ring is done. I'm going to make 6 single crochets into this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pull the loop closed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Slip stitch into the first stitch. Now we're going to chain 1 and we're going to be making 2 single crochets into the each stitch. So the total, you're going to have 12 single crochets at the end of this row. $11 and 12. Let us join it. This is the first slip stitch that we made. This is chain 1. So we're going to skip that and join it to the first single crochet that we made. In this row, we are going to chain 1, make 1 single crochet in the first stitch and then 2 single crochets in the next stitch. And we're just going to follow this pattern all around. So 1 single crochet in the next stitch and 2 single crochets in the next stitch. I finished my second row and here you go. I made 3 rows and then I fasten it off. I'm just going to quickly weave in this end and don't rush. We're not going to, can you see how it is a little bit smaller, but we're going to adjust and crochet it off. If you make it bigger, the mouth is just going to be a little bit wider. So I want it to be a little bit closer at the top. That's why we have a smaller mouth. Okay, once you go, does that not look like a sunflower to you? Anyway, I'm going to keep this aside and let's quickly make our plants. I'm going to grab my green yarn and we're going to be making string of pearls. So this is a pretty easy pattern. All you have to do is chain, and then we're going to repeat the popcorn stitches. So let's do that. Let us make a slip knot, and we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're going to make an extra 2 chains to accommodate the popcorn stitch. So you can make your chain longer or you can make it shorter depending on how close you want the popcorn stitches to be. That is how close your string of pearls to be. So we're just going to go back into the third stitch from the hook, and we're going to be making 5 single crochets into this. 5 double crochets into this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's remove our hook, count backwards 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then go into the first double crochet that we made and pull the loop through it and chain 1 to lock the stitch. There you go, we made the first popcorn stitch, and this is our first pearl. So we can make how many ever pearls we want. We can make it to be as long as we want or as short as possible, and we're just going to be making chains in between them. And like I said, if you make a lesser number of chains, your pearls are going to be closer together, and if you make longer chains, the pearls are going to be far apart. I'm just going to chain 1, 2, 3, 4, and then an extra 2 chain for your turning chain, and we're going to make another popcorn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's remove our hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then tighten it, chain 1 to lock it. I'm going to add 4 more pearls so that I just want short strings of pearls. So I just added 4 to 5 in each string. And the pearls are a little bit far apart here, but then that is the look that I wanted to go. You can just make however you want. Just make sure to leave a longer tail because we are going to be ending this pattern with a popcorn stitch. I'm just making my last pearl. I already made 3. We're just going to make 1 more pearl so that the string has 4 pearls. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the hook, pull the loop through it, and then chain 1 to lock it, and that is it. We are just going to cut our yarn. I'm just going to quickly cut it, and then I am going to weave it inside. Once we do finish the weaving in part, you can make however many strings that you want. Here I made a total of I think 10 strings or maybe 9 strings, I'm not really sure. I made a lot of strings. Okay, let's go to our last part and let us finish this project. What we're going to do is we are going to take the brown circle that we made and we're going to take our string of pearl. Just make sure that you leave long tails. We're going to insert the tail into our brown part wherever we want. So there is no correct place for this. You can just insert it wherever you want, and we are just going to tie a knot here. Okay, we're just going to tie a tiny knot here, and that's all. You have to make sure that you attach all your pearls to the brown circle before we attach it here, because once you attach the brown circle to the top, it will be very difficult to attach the strings without all these bumpy edges being seen. So we are going to just attach all the strings first. Okay, there we go. Our second string is attached. I'm going to finish attaching all my strings and then I will meet you back. There we go. I fixed all of the string of pearls onto this. You can't actually see the brown part. It is completely filled with the string of pearls. Okay, our next and the last step is to just fix this brown part onto this. So for that, what we're going to do is, you can see that here, like we counted before, we have some extra stitches. So your count will not be exactly 18. So we are just going to make sure that we pick the correct stitches. Can you see? This is the first stitch that we're going to be working on, which is the single crochet that we made, and this is the joint between the single crochet and the popcorn stitch. So we're not going to be working in this stitch. The next stitch we'll work is this actual popcorn stitch. So we are going to be working only on the 2 stitches, 1, 2, and we're just going to focus. Yes, we're just going to ignore this one. So 1 and 2, 1 and 2. That's how we're going to work on. And another thing is, we are going to go through both our loops in the yellow part, but when it comes to the brown part, we are going to just go through only one loop, only the front loop. This is because we want the brown part to remain flat instead of becoming bunched over. So what we're going to do is, we're going to take our crochet hook, let us chain 1, and let us tightly arrange this. The first few are going to be very difficult, so we will just try to power through that. Okay, and then we're going to, you can just join it wherever you want. So we just make sure that you are going through only one loop, just the front loop, not the back loop, just the front loop. So okay, I'm going to insert my hook first into the pineapple part and then insert it into the brown part, and we're going to make a single crochet, just a normal single crochet, nothing too fancy. Okay, remember, we're going to skip this stitch, or you can even make a kind of single crochet together if you don't want to skip that stitch. So we're going to go into our second stitch and go into our, can you see, this is the first stitch that we worked, so we're going to go into the next stitch, front loop only, and then work another single crochet. So we're going to stitch at least halfway through, and then we're going to stuff our pineapple. But then you can even go without stuffing your pineapple, because it's just going to be hanging somewhere. The stuffing is not important. This, you can just hold it with the wrong side facing you so that it becomes easy to pick the front loop, and then single crochet. If you were to make a single crochet together with this extra stitch, what you would do is, you would insert it into the first loop, pull up a loop, and then go into the popcorn stitch, and then the next, which one is it here, the next stitch on the brown part, and then pull up a loop and then pull up another loop. Okay, there's our single crochet together. It's going to be hidden inside, so if it's a single crochet or a single crochet together, it really does not matter, except for if you don't want holes, you can just make a single crochet together. Okay, let's go into our next stitch, which is the single crochet here, and then the next loop and single crochet. Can you see how the brown part is going inside while we are getting a raised edge on our yellow part? This is exactly why we are single crocheting only in the front loops. So once we finish it, it will be like the pot is bigger than the soil inside, which is how it usually is when we are planting any type of plant, right? So I'm going to go ahead and finish this row, and I'll meet you back at the end. I'm at the halfway point. Finished this half and we have only this half left. So at this point I'm going to fill our pineapple. We're just going to take some polyfill and we're just going to stuff it. Okay, let us stuff it well. Okay, just stuff it properly. Make sure that it looks good all around. You cannot go back and do anything or change how it looks, so just be sure that you like how it looks all around and then only finish your circle. Now that we added our polyfill, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to close, but we're going to power through it because at the end we're going to get such a cute planter. Okay, I am just going to go ahead and finish it. If you just find it a little bit difficult to stitch it over the polyfill, just grab and pull your brown circle. Remember, these are small circles, but once you pull them they can definitely move places, so don't be afraid to pull. Just don't pull too aggressively. Okay, I'm going to finish and let's meet back up. There you go. I am at the last single crochet to make, and can you see how perfectly there is only one stitch left and that one single crochet together. We definitely made all the stitches completely right. I'm just going to do the last single crochet together and then go into the brown yarn, pull up a loop, single crochet together. Okay, there you go. Slip stitch into the first single crochet that we made. At this point, you can just go around and make one single crochet in each of the stitches that we made, or just leave it as it is. Both are going to look good, so it is completely up to you. You can just make one single crochet on top of each of the single crochets that we made right now. And once you finish that, what we're going to do is we're not going to fasten this off. We are just going to make a big enough chain to make a hanging. So I'm just going to chain 1 2 3 4 38 39 40. I'm going to make 40 chains and then go, and I'm just going to slip stitch into a stitch in the opposite side. This will make our hanging part on the other side. Okay, There we go, our plant is definitely ready. Let's just quickly snip it off, pull it through, and we can just weave in the end. I'm just going to thread it into my needle, and we're going to make a few more knots so that we can be sure that it's not going to unravel. Let us quickly do that. Ooh. Put it inside. There you go. That feels tight enough. Now we're just going to pull it inside. We are just going to weave in the end and snip off the excess. And there you go, our little plant is so ready.